Steph Curry went for a flurry down the stretch. 8 3-pointers in the game, 2 in the final 12 seconds. It had all the makings of a Christmas classic at Chase. Instead, it was a nightmare. Why? How? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's the good word, everyone. Thanks for making Locked On Warriors a part of your day. We're free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube. And if you're hanging with us on YouTube right now, subscribe to the show and give us a thumbs up. It's free, and we very much appreciate it. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Kolsky joining me today, day after Christmas. Myself, Charlie, Walter, we both worked together at 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. He also worked for KNBR in the Bay Area. I worked for CBS News Bay Area in downtown San Francisco. Today, we're just breaking down the game, spending the entire episode talking about the Lakers' win over the Golden State Warriors on Christmas Day. Final score, 115-113 in favor of LA. Just when we thought the Warriors didn't really have any fight in them down the stretch, seemed like they were down about 8 points most of the game, they get one of the great Steph Curry performances in the final few minutes, knocks down some difficult three-pointers, specifically the one with 12 seconds to go in the game, all to lose on a layup. And we can debate who the issue is when it comes to that layup. Was it just Wiggins getting cooked? Was it the help side defense and Jonathan Kuminga? Was it a little bit of both? But let's start with just the game in a nutshell. It's another one that the Warriors lose in crunch time situations. Consistently, they are not closing out games. I kind of had the take of, hey, this team's just not good enough. They don't have the players. At the same time, though, if they're not good enough, why aren't they just getting waxed like a Utah or Portland or teams that truly aren't good enough? They're in these games. They just can't find ways to win them. Welcome, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's true that they're not good enough because it's the old Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are, right? And they are losing these games. But it also feels like they have what they need to be good enough, right? And I you lose by 2 points in a game like this. Buddy shot the ball terribly. Kuminga had a, mediocre night, generally speaking. Draymond missed his first 4 3-point shots. Like, any one of those buckets goes down, and maybe it's a different outcome. So, I think they have enough to be a playoff team, which is to say top 6 in the Western Conference. But that doesn't matter if you don't bring it to bear in the most critical moments. And, I guess we'd have to ask Steve Kerr what the help side defense plan is. It's possible Jonathan Kuminga was supposed to give help, but for my money, Andrew Wiggins just got beat by Austin Reeves. And I think the Warriors would tell you, especially based on the way they defended that last play, I think they like their chances with Andrew Wiggins defending Austin Reeves one-on-one, And I thought Wiggins was in good position, and then he it looked like he was playing a jumper instead of the lane, and I don't know why. He kind of gave that layup away for free, and if you watch the replay, there's like a moment of hesitation where he's in front of him and then he sort of hesitates for a second and just gives him the lane to the basket. I don't know what happened there. Maybe there was a head fake I missed from Reeves that caught that hesitation. I don't know. But for my money, Andrew Wiggins just has to defend that play better. And again, it's not to put the loss on him. Any one of 5 or 7 different things could have gone differently to get this win for the Dubs, but we can keep having this conversation for only so long, because if you continue to lose these games, then again, that's just who you are, and it's hard to expect different.
And this is the same issue that the Warriors were running into last year, and their really plan to help fix it in the offseason was letting Klay Thompson, Chris Paul basically walk away. And then bringing in Buddy Hield, who has quite frankly struggled since the beginning of the season. At best, he's been a role player and a good shooter for this team the last month, 2 months of the season. D'Anthony Melton out for the season, no longer on the team. And then Kyle Anderson, who's getting a DNP in the game. So all these issues that you had last season in terms of personnel, it was basically, hey, we thought we would have been good last year if Draymond played the entire season. There's one issue. Draymond isn't playing very good as of right now. And we can discuss that in a minute. But I do want to start off with Steph Curry. Because, man, it's a curious case right now. Half the narrative is, he's declining. He's 36 years of age. You can't put all your eggs into that basket. And then you see a performance like this 48 hours after the Pacers game goes down. And all I can think is, man, Steph Curry deserves better than this. Like, we got to go out and find this dude some help if he's still knocking down 8 3-pointers in a given game. I don't think he can do this consistently in a 7-game series. But if you get him that second star that we've been clamoring for, that we've been asking for, maybe this thing's a different story and he can change up his role a little bit. And he's knocking down 6 threes every night because he doesn't have to force things up. The issue is, neither of us see that easy path towards the second star. The Warriors kind of in limbo right now. The issue is they have to make moves quickly because this has a chance to spiral out of control. Steph Curry says, we still think that we still have faith. We're still being positive. They had the team meeting before the game per Trace Jackson Davis. But, man, it's not looking good. It is not looking good, Kolsky.
Well, speaking of Trace, he was phenomenal last night. He's been really good. Both Trace and Pods have really rounded into form here, which is good news. I think, to the extent that Kuminga keeps getting the minutes, he's going to keep having good games. Again, not great last night, but still 14 points, 6 boards. Like, he contributed. He got to the line a bunch, which is really nice to see, and he was pretty good shooting from the line.
Would you give up on the youth? I'll ask you point blank. Would you give up on the youth right now and just bring in some vets and say, let's have a victory lap and see what happens because this isn't working? Or do you see this changing?
You can't give up on the youth. That's just not. I mean, if there's a trade for a star available, it's someone we haven't heard of yet. Because I don't see how they get the Jimmy Butler thing done in a way that makes the team better, right? Just all the money you have to put into that deal, it's hard for me to understand how that makes them better. Like, if you could straight up trade Wiggins for Butler, you're better. If it's Wiggins and Kuminga and draft picks and, maybe another contract as well, like, you're not making the team better. It's possible some other star gets disgruntled and asks out before the trade deadline. That it's the NBA. You never know. I don't think that's likely. I think we did see, and I texted you right after I watched the Pacers game, like, boy, Miles Turner really put on a nice audition. Like, that's the guy you want. He's knocking down threes. He's blocking shots. He's running the floor. Like, that would be nice. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if the Pacers are interested in moving on from him, but if they decide they can't re-sign him, maybe that's a possibility sometime in the near future. And with Trace playing so well, maybe Trace is the sort of value piece, and it's Trace and, I don't know, Kyle Anderson and a pick for Miles Turner, and I would do something like that in a heartbeat. But I think more than likely there's no significant trade to be had, which means the improvement needs to come from within. And we've talked about the things they can do on a regular basis, cutting down turnovers, etc. For me, what's got to happen is Dennis Schroeder, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, if we can convince Steve Kerr to unlock his cage. These guys just have to start scoring. And it's got to be in the first half. Because what we saw from Steph last night, he definitely can't do that regularly. I mean, 38, nobody does that regularly. I don't think you even want to ask him to be going in the high 20s regularly. Because I think the strategy Steph has largely pursued this year is the right one, which is try to get other guys going in the first half, and I'll do my thing late if we need it. He's at a point of his career where there's no glamour, there's no value in impressing people, right? Richard Jefferson said something incredible during the game yesterday, which was when you get to the age of LeBron, and Steph is in that camp too, all your hard work is not to get better. It's to slow the decline. Like, that's what you're doing. You're no longer working to get better. You're working to slow the decline. And extra work does not help slow the decline. So the right strategy for Steph is to be more like 20 points per game, but deliver it when it matters. And if that's where he is, they just need more scoring from other people. I think Schroeder will get there, but you got to empower some of these young guys who have the capability to put the ball in the basket so that hopefully they start doing it on a more regular basis. I don't really see a way around that.
A team meeting on Christmas Eve is never good. What does it mean for the Golden State Warriors? We give our stances coming up. Why is the Game Time app better than the box office and every other ticket platform out there? There's a lot of reasons why. My favorite, the closer you get to your event, the cheaper the tickets get. I love that. Also, the all-in pricing. A toggling feature gives you the total up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout, where your tickets are like $120, and then you hit submit, and next thing you know, it's $195. You don't get that. Also, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time Picks makes it easy to save money on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, everything. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? It's definitely happened to me. You know, I had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was paying for. All those different streaming platforms. I had like 15. I hadn't watched some of them in years. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. For me, one of the best features, the subscription tracker. I use it to cancel services that I no longer use because, I mean, let's get real. You're buying things left and right. You're adding things on your apps. No. Don't stress out about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Avoiding personnel and switches is another thing that I noticed during the game, because the one thing you want to do against the Lakers is you want to get matchups, right? You want to get guys going downhill on players like Connect, on D'Angelo Russell, on Austin Reeves. You know, some of their shaky defenders, and the Warriors just they weren't doing that. And it's like basketball 101 against the Lakers.
Right. But and I think that's a I'm glad you said basketball 101, because I think this is a good way to capture it. I think sometimes Steve is so committed to advancing to basketball 305 or whatever the hell that he refuses to just do the easy thing.
But he said this before the season, or I guess midway through, like 10 games in. He was talking about how we want to play fast but not quick, or maybe it was the opposite way, and we want to simplify things for these guys. And then, but that's the problem, is everything he says just turns out to not be true. Like the rotations, all of a sudden Lindy Waters just isn't playing, and Kyle Anderson's getting DNPs, and then other guys come to the rotation, other guys come out. There's no consistency with anything. And it goes all the way to the top with Steph Curry right now. I mean, we got games where he's not hitting field goals, and then the next game he's hitting 8 threes and 2 threes in 12 seconds. There's just no consistency with this team, and it's hard to watch, man, even though that was a fun Christmas Day game, aside from the final 6 seconds.
And by the way, shout out to LeBron. First of all, I mean, the guy's incredible. You can tell physically he's not where he wants to be right now, and he's still capable of dominating a basketball game. But also, shout out to LeBron for the post-game interview when he said, listen, I love the NFL, but today's our day. And both he and Steph looked like they were out there trying to prove it, right? Don't step on our day, because we'll do this and nobody's going to be watching the Texans, okay? that was what they were saying to the NFL on that day. And I don't know if that'll scare the NFL off, but I did appreciate that at the very least, the two most important people in the NBA right now said, you know what, we're going to put on a show and make sure you know whose day this is. That was good for me. But yeah, it can be very difficult to watch, because it would almost be easier if it didn't feel like they were right there. If it didn't feel like, man,
if it was a full
year,
rebuild, yeah, it wouldn't be that difficult, but it doesn't feel like, I mean, there's no full rebuild going on right now. They have a lot of money tied up into some good players. Andrew Wiggins is playing some of the best basketball of his career. Steph's still elite. At least, he may not be as good as he once was, but he's once as good as he ever was. And quite frankly, he's as good as he ever was many games. And then you got a tantalizing talent like Kuminga, and there are just pieces there to where you feel like the team can be good. And going further than that, man, the beginning of the season, like, that wasn't a mirage, I mean, sure, the undefeated preseason was, where we got the greatest Moses Moody of all time, but the beginning of the season, where you beat the Celtics, where you beat the Thunder, had a 30-point lead over them, where you lost a lot of these games very close and should have won some of the games that you lost. Like, this was not a mirage. Something has changed, and I don't know what it was and how you fix it.
I mean, Melton's the biggest thing, I really think. And I
mean, Melton's a great player. Don't get me wrong. But all this.
Well, but think about what we're saying, right? What we're saying is the pieces don't fit as well as they did in that run. And when they were at their best, I think a huge part of it, I mean, listen, Buddy Hield hasn't played as well, right? Like, there's a handful of factors. But I really think Melton made it work in a connective way that is very difficult to replace, especially since Pods has not, until the last 8 games, been particularly good. They just got Schroeder in here. And it feels like Melton was the jigsaw piece that made it all fit together. And so now they got a bunch of pieces that are reasonably good pieces, but they're struggling to make them fit. And I guess my hope would be that improved fit with Schroeder as he starts to get more comfortable, that, hopefully more consistent Kuminga minutes, that hopefully Draymond being a little bit more consistent. Like, I would like to think that a handful of little things can bring this back to a place where we're talking about 4, 5, 6 seeds again. And again, it's only a couple wins away. So I still think that's very much within the realm of possibility. But with every loss, and more specifically with every loss that rips your heart out of your chest, I do think that becomes a taller mountain to climb. So it's time now. And Steph has said as much. I think Steve has said as much. This next couple weeks is where you have to find a way to get a hold of this thing. And if you don't, it's going to be looking ugly when the trade deadline comes around.
Next 3 games, rounding out 2024 and heading into a new year. It's the Clippers, who the Warriors have already lost to twice. It's the Phoenix Suns, who, it's the Suns and the Cavs back-to-back at Chase Center. And quite frankly, the 2 worst performances of the season, in my opinion, were against those 2 teams. So a little chance of redemption.
Hold on.
Which game am I missing?
2 of the 3. There's the Memphis game.
Oh, God. Oh God. I took that one out of my memory, Kolsky.
He erased it from his memory. Hey, good for you, because we'd all like to erase that thing. But yeah, they were.
I had Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones show up to my doorstep with one of their
zap.
But you brought it back, man. Damn it.
Sorry. My apologies. I should have let that slide. But yeah, no, they definitely, the Cavs game was just, I think, more of a end of a road trip. Like, this is a tough one.
Cleveland came out guns a-blazing.
Yeah,
it was kind of like Memphis. The difference is they had some fight in Cleveland to at least cut it down to 20 or whatever.
Agreed. But they looked lifeless against Phoenix, and Phoenix is not feeling great right now either. So it's a good time to try to get them. And just in general, like, I don't really think there's a team that the Warriors can't beat if they really put it together, right? Like, they're going to be in it with any team. It's just a matter of the keys we've talked about all year. Don't turn it over, don't foul too much, and then close, and if Steph is playing like he did yesterday down the stretch, whether he's scoring 38 on the night or not, if he is confident and knocking things down when it matters, like, they can close. So we can say it's a not yet. Look, they got an easier stretch in January, right? Right now, it's not exactly an easy stretch, but it's not a brutal stretch. They just got to win some games.
Draymond Green, man. What's your take on the way Draymond Green's been playing? Had the 10 rebounds in yesterday's game, 6 assists, missed threes, technical that, I mean, when you look back at it, technical free throws kind of decide the game. It's his 7th of the season. It's a mistake. Technicals are always a mistake, and it comes back to bite the team in the ass. How do you think he's been playing? Because at the beginning of the year, we thought he was locked in. He was playing really good basketball, and as of late, it's just like, a lot to be desired.
It's very interesting. I mean, obviously, I love Draymond, but I do think he's the sort of guy that you would think a little frustration might give him some juice. And I don't know if it's always been this way, but it does feel like the last couple years when Draymond gets frustrated, I don't want to sound like I'm calling him a child, because certainly he's not, but like, I don't know a better phrase than act out. And he sort of starts to act out on the floor when he's frustrated. Like last night, he was in officials' faces for no reason after very reasonable foul calls. I don't. Sometimes it's frustration with his own game. I think frustration with losing winnable games is getting to him, but I don't think he plays so well frustrated. And maybe it's because he's already on tilt just normally, right? That like the frustration pushes him over the edge. But he has to be a little bit more responsible. And I understand his perspective that, like, this is who I am. Sometimes I get technicals. But the margins have shrunk, When you were prime Draymond, we'll write off a technical here or there because you're making it up. I almost think that now, especially a game like last night, which you could tell was going to be nip and tuck the whole way, that those margins matter more than they used to. And I think he's just, again, I get it. Like, that's the sort of athlete I was. I know you're going to be very surprised to believe this, but like, I can very much identify with, like, he seems to have an attitude sometimes of like, well, if I don't do X, Y, or Z, they can't give me a technical, but that's not true. They can give you a technical whenever they want, And then his response is like, oh, all I did was say you're terrible at your job, and that's a technical? I didn't swear. You can't give me a technical. And it's like, yeah, but they can. And so you're an adult. Let's just take it down a notch and not say the first thing. And it's a tough line to walk with a guy like that, but I think, those are the things that, as you age, there are easy ways to counter the natural decline. One is just misbehave less. Like, if you're Draymond, just misbehave less. So maybe it's 7 less technicals over the course of the year. Maybe not. I'm not saying he wouldn't have any right now, but maybe he'd only have 3 right now instead of 7.
Turn it over less would help too.
Well, that's the other one, right? And there has to be an acknowledgement from Draymond and Steph that, like, it was worth it. The gamble was the risk was worth it, right? The gamble was intelligent when we were 30. To whip it all around the floor, to throw one-handed passes. That was all worth it. But now the hit rate is low enough that it's not worth it. And there has to be an acknowledgement of, I am going to throttle it down one notch because I'm no longer getting the reward to counter the turnovers.
Coming up, have we reached a boiling point for the Golden State Warriors? Surely something has to happen soon. Will it just happen internally that they'll figure this thing out? Are moves to be made? We debate. It's coming up on Locked On Warriors. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong, 250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players are going to score a touchdown, how many points each team's going to score, over, unders, props. Yes. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I felt great about the Warriors over 43.5 win total ticket that I placed before the season. They're now 15-14. Not looking as good, but at this point, hey, you could bet on each and every game on FanDuel.com. 11 of 14 losses now for Golden State. Panic button, panic meter. How high are we right now? Because 10 days ago we said let's wait to see this next stretch. Let's reevaluate around Christmas, around the new year. Warriors haven't been winning games. They're losing games at Chase Center. It's not great, Bob. It's not great right now. What's your take on kind of how we stand?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still at like a 5. I'm acknowledging that panic is not an unreasonable decision, but I'm not in a significant panic yet.
Now, is it because of what you saw at the beginning of the season that you think there's something there to harness, or is it the personnel, or what exactly? Because my panic meter is just the fact that I don't think they have the role players right now, and the youth is not good enough for this team to consistently win games. Again, I'm thinking from a championship or bust perspective, which is not really fair. They do have multiple years with this core of Wiggins and Curry and Draymond Green, but I'm win now, baby. I've always been that way.
Yeah, well, if it's championship or bust, I think the panic level probably should have been around a 7 from the start of the season, right? I mean, it's just if they're gonna win a title, the margin of error is incredibly small, and they may have already exceeded it. That being said, 3 and 4 seeds can get into title races, and that's still very much within their grasp. So it's not out the window. I think my attitude is more of a win a playoff series or bust, and I still think that's very much in the palm of their hands. Why am I still reasonably confident? It's a combination of all the things you said, right? It's a combination of the talent, the experience, the fact that I still think there's juice left in this orange. I don't think they are getting everything they can out of the group that they have. And even if they were, they're right there. And the gap between, what are they, 15-14 right now? The gap between the record they have and a record that would put them in 3rd or 4th in the West is a matter of a couple of missed shots. It really is. So, part of it is I think luck can come around. Part of it is I believe in Steph and Draymond and Steve Kerr because I've seen it enough times before. And part of it is I really do think they have the talent. I do think the young guys are capable. I do think they have role players that are valuable. I do think Schroeder is going to be a better and better fit as he gets more and more comfortable. I just think it's right there for them. And I don't think that teams like the Lakers or the Rockets or the Nuggets or even the Suns are significantly better than them. I think it's a matter of getting the job done. And look, that's not easy, but I do believe it's possible.
What would you say to the Warriors fans that have seen enough of Steve Kerr? They think the offense is outdated. They think his ability to read in-game decisions and just kind of think on the fly has not been up to his capabilities or what it once was. And they think that, hey, send Kerr packing, just give Terry Stotts the keys and everything will change. What would you say to those fans that think that?
I would say check Terry Stotts' record as a head coach, first of all. And second of all, I would say be careful what you wish for. Like if Terry Stotts is your guy, fair enough. I guess he's got experience. He's a good coach. He's been a good head coach. Not great. Steve Kerr has been a great head coach. And unless Eric Spoelstra or Greg Popovich isn't even available for the Spurs. Like, the list of guys that you would want to replace Steve Kerr with is very short and does not include Terry Stotts. So, I don't know. I can sympathize with people who are frustrated by some of Steve Kerr's decisions, but it's very hard for me to get to a point where I think somebody else would be better. Because it's one thing to be annoyed with the guy and to, like, want to verbally throw things at him. It's another to find a replacement that's an improvement. And I just don't see that. I really don't. And if those Warrior fans who feel that way are 49er fans, I would ask them, as much as Jim Harbaugh may have been annoying by the end of his tenure, how'd you do in the years immediately following?
Very good question. And we saw the answer.
Yeah.
With that being said, like, at what point do you start to be forced to shake things up to where it's just not working? And whether it's a coaching decision, which I don't think is coming anytime soon, personnel decisions, how long can you truly let this ride of just being a team that loses 11 of 14 games and looks a little lifeless? I mean, we saw Steph Curry nail that three with
but you know what was in his head. 6.3 seconds.
6.3 seconds left. He's not even celebrating. He knows they're going to lose.
But that's about LeBron. That's not about Steve Kerr. That was a damn it, I left you. That's a football team scoring with a minute and a half left and Tom Brady on the other side. You know what I mean? Like that. I got the way he felt immediately because he was shocked that he was so open, so he had to shoot the ball, but he knew we don't actually want this shot with 6 seconds left on the clock. So I don't know. I'll tell you the answer to your question. When do you lose faith in Steve Kerr? When Steph Curry loses faith in Steve Kerr. Steph Curry's the GM right now. Honestly. And he may not. I'm sure he's very nice when he tells Mike Dunleavy what to do. But certainly as it regards the coach, Steph Curry's in charge. And if Steph loses faith, then by all means move on from Steve Kerr. But I don't think we're there.
Hey, man, it's the results of these games have not been fun the last couple of weeks, but there's a lot of intrigue around the season because at the very end of the day, something is going to happen, right? We're getting to a boiling point where if the Warriors keep losing, they're going to make a move of some sort. I mean,
we
I
still
think
don't know what that
point.
Kuminga Instagram post was about, do we?
No, I mean, he gave the peace of signs. So, yeah.
He might just mean, peace to the world on Christmas Eve. But it was curious, and it came right after Steve Kerr didn't use his name, but pretty much took shots at him in a press conference. So who knows? I mean, it's hard to know what's going on in that locker room right now. It's obviously not all peaches and cream if you're having a players-only meeting before the Christmas Day game. So I agree that we're at a boiling point. Something seems like it has to happen. Now, I think those things could be internal, but I do feel like there are storylines that are going to be developing in significant ways over the next month or two.
That's the crazy thing about all this is, that Slater's putting together the piece right now. He's finding out all the nuggets, but we never learn about what's truly happening in the organization until it's all done, right?
Right.
Like
never in real time.
We'd heard the rumblings about the Jordan Poole punch for a while, that something happened. And until TMZ leaked that video and you saw it real time, like we just thought, they're being babies about this. You heard Steve Kerr say like, no, this is serious, guys, in his press conference. He's like, what happened was it's unacceptable. But you truly didn't know. And then you finally see the video. So whatever's going on behind the scenes, whatever's causing Christmas Eve team meetings, we truly don't know, but we're going to find out eventually. And that alone is, it's compelling stuff. I mean, a season is a story.
Yep.
Warriors Clippers on Friday. A happy early new year to everyone. And hopefully 2025 brings better things for the Golden State Warriors, who are now 3-11 in their last 14. Good night, everyone.
Just beat the damn Clippers, can you? Can you just
Just
beat the damn
beat 'em.
Clippers? Ugh.
Just beat them.